and you go through all the programming, you learn a lot, and then it culminates with like a pitch competition. And so I did that, and that was kind of one of my first validators that Violet was the real thing, because I actually won, prize money. Like I got thousands of dollars from that program towards Violet. And so I was like, okay, yeah, like, if this group believes that it's valuable out of all these 150 other companies, that was like, at that point I was still, considering whether I was going to go do Violet full time and make it a big thing. And that was one of the hurdles that I got through, where I was like, okay, cool, yeah, maybe this is a thing.
Does Violet represent anything, or was it just like the random name you picked?
Well, kind of the core technology in the original patent filed uses ultraviolet light. UVC light is one of the mechanisms we use to kill viruses, bacteria, things like that in the air. And so, that was the reason why I chose Violet, is because it was core to our technology, and also I thought it was just a good, relatable name as well, and there was a lot we could do with it, with branding and stuff like that too. So, it was just like anybody that does this. Some people, maybe they know right away, but I had like 100 names on the list and crossing them off, and I'm happy with where we landed. I generally have gotten good feedback from people that it's a solid name and brand.
So what's the number one health concern Violet's preventing?
The number one
health concern you're preventing?
Concern. Yeah, so we solve a lot of problems. We started with, we kill viruses and kind of disease causing things in the air better than anyone else. Like at our core, that's what we can do better than any other product. So if there's RSV, if there's flu, if there's bird flu, if there's COVID, whatever it is, if our device, our technology is operating in here, it's going to be killing that extremely effectively so that I don't transmit it to you. And so we do the other things too, and the thing is, there's a lot of air purifiers, right? So, and air purifiers filter. HEPA is the best form of filtration that you're going to find in an air purifier. And that's going to do great with dust, pollen, wildfire smoke, and then some amount of viruses in the air. Some amount of viruses make it through filters, and that's kind of the core issue, is that those products are good, but they're not perfect at preventing disease transmission, right? If you want to take it to the next level, where it's like in an indoor environment, we can prevent each other from getting sick in a lot of circumstances. That's where that's like the next step that we provide. We're still going to go, if there's a wildfire and you have a Violet running, it's going to be safe to breathe, and you're not going to smell that smoke because it's going to pick it all up very effectively. But the differentiation really is in that, and that's where we started, and we're kind of transitioning to a new concept. I kind of have learned that because we solve this invisible problem, right? Like you can't see what we do, right? And a lot of people don't actually know that there's a problem because they can't see it, they can't sense it. And so even if we're the best at removing it, if they don't know it's there in the first place, they don't care, right? And so when you consider how do you take indoor air health and make it mainstream, you need to show the problem to people. They need to understand the problem, and then we can solve it too, right? But showing. So there's this big gap in the industry in air quality sensing. Right now it's sort of I don't want to call it like a dumb sensing technology, but it's just sensing mostly by particle size. Like, hey, there's this size particle in the air. We don't know what it is, but it's there, and it could be unhealthy, it could be healthy, but we're going to translate kind of that dumb sensing into a score and give that to you, but it really doesn't mean that much. Like if there's a wildfire, it's going to go boop, and you're going to know there's a problem, but you're also going to smell there's a problem. Like there's certain things where it's like very obvious, but viruses, no, you don't know. And so very early on, I started to recognize that, and I've kind of made this new focus for the company where if we can differentiate between what's in the air and very specifically tell you when something's harmful in the air, that's enough to get somebody to care about it and then want to remove it. And so if we had a machine in here and it said, hey, ding, 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 sensing COVID-19 above a certain level, we would probably look at each other and be like, uh-oh, right? Like, what would we do? Maybe we'd be like, okay, let's put on a mask or something. Or maybe we'd be like, let's do this remotely. Let's not do this, right? It's just a level of awareness. So like, yeah, the Violet can clean that and it can remove that, but I'm gonna constantly be emitting it into the air. So it gives us a level of control over what we want to do and, you know, how we interact with people. And so, you know, as a company, that's kind of what we're shifting to. Like we can kill things in the air better than any other product. And then we've developed the technology to be able to sense and generate this data that says, here's what's in the air in these types of facilities. And so we developed this with a university, and, you know, just like any startup company, you need to be able to get it to launch, right? And make it into a product and get it out to the world. And that's kind of the next gap for us, is like, we've proven that we have a technology that doesn't exist in the world and we can do it, and we have it patented and, you know, all that. How do we then get that to, okay, this is a product that exists and you can purchase and get it out to the world, and then help people understand why it's so important. But yeah, you know, that's this next phase of differentiation for us that I want to bring to the world.
So I'm hearing you right. You're basically following like the Henry Ford, Steve Jobs method. You know, like Henry Ford says, if I give the customer they want a faster horse. You're like kind of the customers what they need and want, even they don't know about it yet.
Yeah, if you're totally right. Like if the customer was like, what do I want? It's like, make a more effective air purifier. Okay, I can do that, but you're not going to care any more than you do now. Yeah, so it's really showing them something that has never existed before, and then once they see that, it's helping them understand why it's important, and then, you know, it's kind of a paradigm shift.
And like, how are you doing this, like actually like scaring the shit out of them, so to speak? Like, give my product because all the air is poisonous around you. Buy my product or die. You know, how do you
get that right.
balance?
It's going to be a balance, because I think if you sense the air in any given room that has a lot of people in it, there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that you don't want to see. And up front, there's going to be a shock factor, right? It's like, you mean there's like these 27 viruses in the air and I'm breathing it right now, every day of my life? That's why you have an immune system, right? That's why your body has defenses against that. But we don't see it, we don't know it. We're kind of like pleasantly ignorant, right? And so I think the key is there is some education. You don't like having something where you have to do a lot of education, but also having thresholds and establishing early what's normal. Like, yeah, there's trace amounts of all this stuff. Above this threshold is where it starts to become dangerous, and that's when we notify. You know, it's like the data will be there, but it's not going to like alert or alarm until you get to the point where it matters, right? Where it's above normal and at the point where it's maybe infectious, right?
And if someone from Violet gets alarm, or the individual person gets the alarm?
Well, you know, we have the technology, and then the next step is commercializing and productizing this, right? So there's form factors and there's implementations that we can consider. One of them is, you know, this is built into the central building system, and it's just constantly detecting in every room. And then there's kind of like a management, and it's going to say, hey, room 3 has RSV above a certain threshold. And it's like, what's in room 3? Oh, there's a meeting with 5 people in there. Okay, well, let's notify them. And then, you know, the idea is there's automatically triggered action. So like, there's probably a baseline in that room of like cleaning the air. If there's a virus detected above a certain threshold, probably that kicks up a little bit, right? Cleans faster, notify the people. And then there's this idea of kind of personal wearable, right? Like, not exactly like a breathalyzer, but kind of it could be, right? Where it's like, you know, you can, and the way that we've envisioned this is you can kind of have a database. And so imagine, you know, you do need to do some preliminary testing where it's like, okay, this signal is caused by COVID-19 or RSV or bird flu or whatever comes out in the future, right? You test, you get a signal, and then you build that into your database, and then your sensing device is referencing that database. And so it's like, it's going to tell you specifically what it is based on that data. And then it's going to, you know, that data from that type of facility can also be compared against other facilities, other regions, and you can see like, am I more or less healthy than I'm supposed to be, right? Based on what normal is.
Did your strategy for your company change in any kind of way, like when COVID kind of started going away?
For sure, yeah. So during COVID, you know, everybody's reactive and everybody is kind of in it and just trying to figure out what to do. And so there wasn't a lot of guidance. There was, here's some things you could do, And so it was kind of like here's an opportunity, let's go get it. And there was some grant money available too, which always helps when you're doing something new. And so during the pandemic, there was, especially in elder care, there was grants and there was a big need, and we gained a lot of customers there. And then after COVID started to wane, and that's the thing here. It didn't go away, right? So the national spotlight on it went away, but anybody that kind of is in these specific industries knows there's COVID outbreaks in elder care facilities still to this day. I guarantee there was plenty of them last week, the week before, the week before. So the problem that we've seen is that we kind of experienced what happened during the pandemic, and we found some ways to make improvements, but we didn't necessarily back that up with regulations. Like, okay, so we know that these things can be preventative, so therefore these facilities go do that. That didn't really happen. There were some recommendations, but still we kind of like moved back into a pre-pandemic mode a little bit. And so I would say we now have this mix of like there's reactive facilities that are like, oh, now I have another outbreak, and so I'm going to look and I'm going to reach out and find something. And then there's a certain amount of people that are proactive, and they're like, I experienced a pandemic, I learned what helps, and so I'm going to set myself up so this never happens again. And then that does exist. But for us, we just kind of recognize that the regulation is not necessarily coming soon, and so we just need to be scrappy, right? And again, like this shift that I have recognized and we're making to showing the problem, that's one of the reasons, because when there's not a national spotlight on a pandemic, the problem is invisible. In some ways it kind of goes away, and so you need a way to shine a light on it and say, like, they didn't go away, it's still here. You can't sense it with your body, but this sensor can tell you, and this is infectious, right? And you should prevent your staff from getting it, and you should prevent your residents from getting it, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it saves you a bunch of money. If you don't have to shut down a wing of your facility, send people to the emergency room, limit your staff and in and out, there's so much money spent on responding to these things when they happen, to where preventing them saves a lot of money, and it pays the investment off quickly.